Okay, so it's recording now.
Okay, perfect.
So, if we just want to I guess, kind of start from the beginning. So I'll just read the first question. It just says, what doctrine in Wilbur's heart drove him to advocate? Why is the doctrine of the family so important to have in your heart to be passionate and persistent?
So for me, I just kind of feel like it's really important to have the doctrine in your heart because that's a driving factor of why you should even advocate. I mean, without the doctrine, you wouldn't really be able to distinguish what's important to you because so much of the family in the world today is gray area, and knowing that doctrine really helps you be able to clarify, put things more black and white.
Oh, yeah. No, I agree. I think it just, yeah, I like what you said, it just helps clarify things. So I think what made Wilbur decide to advocate for this um was knowing and understanding who God is. Because I know there was a part he was saying, or someone was saying, you think you found God, sir? And then he was like, no, I think he found me. And so I think that's kind of something that maybe helped him push himself to like try to stop slave trade. And then I was thinking about it was in the second lesson or something like that about it was we had to read Sister Beck's talk, and she said this generation will be called upon to defend the doctrine of the family as never before. If they don't know the doctrine, they can't defend it. So I don't know. I just felt like it's important to know the doctrine of the family so we can defend it and let people know about it, kind of thing. Because if we don't understand it, then we won't be able to help those people understand it, I guess.
I
So
agree. Yeah, and I like when his friends were trying to convince him that he could join them. They said you don't
yeah.
have to use one or the other. You can do both. And I
Mm-hmm.
think when we had to read that book, now I can't even remember what it was called.
Oh, the
Um,
sacred duty.
yes, and that's what he did. He chose to do both. He still was a member of the church and he was still advocating for those things, but he went and he advocated, and I think that's an important reminder.
Yeah. I didn't even think about that. That's cool. I actually really like that. That it kind of goes back with that book as well. I don't know. Because he did both in the sacred duty. He was a member, but he stood up for the truth. And I feel like that's kind of what Wilbur had to do. I don't know. They were like, yeah, you can do both. It doesn't have to mean you choose one or the other, kind of
Right.
thing. And I feel like, I don't know, I feel like nowadays, I feel like people think they have to choose either God or not. They feel like I can't follow God and be a normal person. But I feel like, I don't know, you have to, I don't know if that makes sense.
It's the balance between both that makes it better.
Right, right. Yeah. No, I agree. So, yeah, no, I like that. That's cool. Okay. Should we just move on?
Yeah.
Okay, so the next question is, how did Wilbur employ a theoretical Bronfenbrenner approach to become a more effective advocate? Identify at least one thing in each system and be specific. To be honest, this was probably my hardest question.
So have you taken there's a class based on that whole model, family systems and theories, I think is what it
I
is.
don't think I don't think I've taken that.
So it talks about all of the different models and stuff. It's really helpful for this question. So basically, Bronfenbrenner's approach is just divides up the world basically into units.
Right.
So your home, the community, the nation, the world, things like that. And so for me, I felt like what Wilbur did in this situation was he educated those around him, and then to get into the community, they went around and did speeches about it. And then another thing that I thought helped them advocate into a broader area was the book that the slave wrote. He sold, I think, over 100 copies just in one sitting. is what they said. So where we obviously didn't have the internet then, that was probably the best way they had to get out information about what was going on. And also all of the petitions and things that went around, I think all of those were ways that they were able to advocate their cause.
Right. Yeah, because I know that we like learned this in like it was like lesson 6 or something, and but I feel like I have a hard time like relating it back like to those 5 systems.
Right.
So like in the microsystem, I guess, well, this is how I kind of took it, because the microsystem is like, it's kind of like your inner circle, kind of like your friend, you know what I mean? Like those things. And so what I was kind of thinking was like Wilbur, he went to like that guy, like it used to be like his religious leader, like the monk or something. Well, he was like, I'm not a monk, but I like try to be, or something, whatever he said. And so I felt like he kind of started there to like get advice about like what he could do to become a more effective advocate. And then what was the other ones then? Sorry, I'm like reading it on my thing. And then in like the meso system, he was able to like use his friends and religion to work together. It was like what you were saying, how they were both like, well, we can do both together. And so I feel like once he understood that, that's when he became even more effective, when he understood that those things could work together. And then, yeah, I don't know. I just think it's interesting, like, how the 5 systems, like, they really do play off each other. Like, it always, obviously it starts in the microsystem, but there's always little things that after the microsystem, it just, like, goes together. And I guess I noticed in the film, like, thinking about this question, I noticed in the film how when all these like systems were working together, that was how when he was like the most effective, kind of thing, I guess, if that.
Yeah, and he was close to being able to pass the bill that he wanted to pass.
Right. Yeah.
I think another part of the meso system could be when he took all of those people out on the boat ride.
Yeah.
And they were just going out for a ride, but he ended up taking them to the slave ship and showing them what it was. So he affected that other level of his community by taking them and showing that personally.
Right. Yeah. No, I like that. I didn't even think about that. I think it's a really good point. I actually really like that part. I thought that was like a super like powerful part. So yeah, I agree. I think, yeah, I don't know. It was just interesting to like, after reading the questions, I was like, oh yeah, they like all work together. Like it all works better when they're, I don't know, when you're working together, kind of thing, I guess. But yeah, I'm trying to think if there's anything.
That's all I have for that one.
Yeah. Because did he like go and talk to like, not necessarily, because, okay, who was that guy, the last guy that like signed the petition?
He was one of the more powerful influences in the
like in the government kind of thing. So yeah, because I thought, I was like, that's kind of what I thought. Like for like in the exosystem, like using the government and to like help his cause, and so he went and like tried to like influence those people and tried to tell them like obviously why this wasn't a good choice, and like he got that one to sign the petition, and I felt like obviously that impacted other people. So I don't know, it was just like another thing that impacted people to change their mind, kind of thing.
Yeah, that's really good. I hadn't thought about that as far as the exosystem goes. I also think maybe part of that would be how all of the younger ladies stopped using sugar in their tea.
Yeah.
I think that's mostly because they thought that they were handsome men, but also because of their cause. But That could probably be the exosystem too, because it was people that they didn't even really know or talk to. It was just word of mouth that kind of got to them about it. So
Right. Yeah, no, I agree. I didn't think about that one. That one's cool too. I'm like, yeah, that totally works. Okay. So the third question is, how did Wilbur and his fellow advocates do and share their research? What evidence did they provide to persuade those opposing or on the fence? So the one like quote that I had was, I think it was from Wilbur, and he just said like he says, I have here diagrams, first-hand accounts, and transcripts of trials where innocent Africans have been convicted of crimes they did not commit and were then burnt alive. And then, so he just says these are first-hand accounts, and so like I feel like they used, obviously that's like kind of some research in their end. And then I thought another evidence was like the petition, like to have all those people sign it. And then what else? And I think using what was it? There was like, I think it was just like people that shared like stories about them kind of thing, which obviously isn't like research, but it was like kind of just like firsthand kind of things, like, well, I was there and I saw this or different things. And so I feel like that's another piece of evidence that they kind of use to help their case.
Yeah, I think part of that was their slave friend that helped them through the whole thing, pretty much. And him writing his memoirs into that book that they published. Also, his other friend came and took him to the slave ship, and then he came back and built a replica of the box that they had to travel in. So they were doing like observational research. They went and saw things that were happening, but then they also recreated it so that they would have a true understanding of what was going on.
Right.
So I thought that was really good. I think when they were trying to persuade people opposing, that was partially like when he took the group of parliamental people on the boat to see the slave ship. That was part of it. So I thought that was really good.
Yeah, I thought that was a really good part. Well, I don't know, like watching that part, like I think wasn't there like a late or like some people like they're crying about it and things like that. I feel like it's almost like a hands-on experience, like puts it in perspective, like, oh yeah, this actually happened to people. Like,
right.
So no, I thought that, yeah, I think that's definitely a way he like had evidence. Do you have anything else for that one?
I think, didn't we have a lesson where we talked about how important it was to have good research to back our topics? I just feel like as church members, a lot of times we think that good research is anything that the brethren say, but I think we have to do what he did, and we have to find more than one way to prove our point. Like through the gospel is good, but if we can find it through the gospel and through other means of research, then it's even better. And so I think that's what Wilbur tried to do. He tried to find more than one way to show people what was happening.
Yeah, I remember that week, and like we read something about obviously something about research, and it was saying how like when we do our research, like I don't know, because sometimes when I do research, I just like look it up in Google. I'm like, oh yeah, that's fine, but they were saying like look at the author and look at like who it came from, because I just kind of like if it sounds good, then I just put it in, like whatever. But it helped me understand, like, you really have to do your research on the research. Like, because you never know who's it coming from. Is it because a lot of stuff is just bias. And you just don't realize it. So, yeah. No, I'm glad you brought that up. Yeah. So. But, yeah, I felt like Wilbur, he did his research. Like, he knew, I don't know. I guess he knew what would be best to, like, affect people and help them change their minds kind of thing.
Yeah, and I feel like what made him a really great advocate was that he was so passionate about
Yeah.
about the subject of slavery that he was willing to go to any lengths to prove his point or to convince others. And so any research that he had, he was
Oh,
just
yeah. I agree. Yeah, for sure. Okay, the next question is, how does the film portray the importance of working together as a group? What has family advocacy group work taught you? So I thought this question was just like, I don't know. I feel like he worked with that one group the whole time. Like, it showed how working with a group is obviously easier than working, like, being by himself. I don't think he would have been as effective if he worked just by himself, kind of thing. Because I think everyone has different insights, and I felt like all of his group just had different insights about different things, and so they were all able to like get the best. I don't know what that best work done. I guess I don't even know what I'm trying to say. So yeah, I just felt like um, I felt like it just showed how important it is to work with a group, and I feel like this semester we had a lot of group work, and it's helped. I guess it helped me realize how important it is for me to be prepared for my group, like for my Google Hangouts, like with my group. Like when I wasn't prepared, I just like sat there like not knowing what to say. And
right.
so I feel like I don't know, I feel like it's just important. Like you have to be prepared because your group is counting on you. And obviously like they need your insights because I gained a lot out of like what other people said in my Google Hangouts, which I thought was really cool. So yeah, so that's what I
I
think.
noticed that Wilbur, he'd kind of taken a little bit of a break from advocating, and he was kind of just doing his own thing. And
Mm-hmm.
he was just miserable during that time when he was doing his own thing. He was still passionate about it, and he felt like he should have been doing more, but he couldn't do more by himself.
Mm-hmm.
And the only time they were able to make progress and to pass their bill, if you'll call it that, through Parliament was when they all worked together and found that greater solution at the end to solve the problem. And so I feel like that just emphasizes how important it was for him, and it helped him share the load so that he wasn't feeling that burden. Not that it was a burden, but the burden
Right.
of advocating all by himself. And
Yeah, for sure.
even his wife was a great help because she knew that he needed to do that, and she supported him the whole time.
Oh yeah.
And I feel like this semester, my group was not great.
Oh no.
We like rarely had people to meet. My first group had to be dissolved and remade into a second group, and
Oh,
so
that is so sad.
yeah. So I feel like that really showed me how important it was because if only two people were there, then it wasn't really that productive of a meeting. We really
Right.
needed every person, and so um, it showed me even as a team, you more than two is even better. So
Oh yeah.
so I feel like in this movie they did a great job of showing how more people really help their cause.
Consider help. Yeah. I like that you brought that up though. Like I like how you said how when he was like kind of like when he stepped back and didn't really like do it with other people, he was like I feel like he was miserable kind of thing. He just wasn't happy. But yeah, I like that. I didn't even think about that. So yeah, thanks for bringing that up. Okay, so number 5 is what parallels do you see between Wilbur and Captain Moroni and Alma 46? What is a Christian and professional family advocate, and how do Wilbur exemplify that? How can you be effective and Christ-like against such loud and often degrading voices? That's a long question.
It is.
Um, so what I thought, like a parallel that I saw was like Moroni was obviously very passionate. Like he got the cloth and like the rent of his coat and everything. And I thought Wilbur was just like that. Like I felt he was very passionate about what he did. Like what you were saying before, like that's what made him a good advocate. And I also think that's what made Captain Moroni like such a great captain was because he was very passionate about what he did. And I just felt like Wilbur was just gonna do whatever he had to make the people know that slave trade obviously wasn't a good thing, and that's what Moroni did. Like, he made people understand, like, you need to follow Heavenly Father. And then, let's see, I think as, like, a Christian and professional family advocate, I think it means, like, obviously we need to have, like, the Spirit with us. And I think sometimes it's hard because, like the question says, it's hard because there's loud and degrading voices. Um, but I think just like as Wilbur did, he told people his opinion, and he did listen. He like listened to other people's opinions, even though they like disagreed with him. And then he would say his opinion. He wouldn't like change it. And I think that's important as an advocate. Like, we don't just be like, oh yeah, you're right. Like, I think he did a good job at, like, I mean, sometimes he couldn't contain him. I felt like sometimes in the movie he's like was very abrupt. But then a lot of the times he could like contain himself and then just kind of move on from it and just tell his opinion. And so I think that's what makes a good like professional family advocate kind of thing. So.
Yeah, I like that a lot. We kind of had a lesson about that in our studies. And I just felt like it's easy to want to force your beliefs on others, but the best thing that you can do is be an example of what you believe in, and so then others will want to follow what you believe in. And I feel like that was the same between Wilbur and Captain Moroni. It would be really hard because people didn't the majority didn't believe in what they believed in, or didn't even like them, and
yeah,
and they still had to just stand up and stand firm and convince other people to believe in it. And like you said, Wilbur was pretty good at being level and just keeping moving forward. And I feel like sometimes as an advocate, that's the best move that we can make, is just being level and not trying to be so forceful.
right.
And the Christian and professional family advocate, I feel like you said, kind of just having that gospel knowledge in our hearts and being able to advocate for that towards others. I feel like because the Lord knows how important the family is, He's going to help you advocate for that. Through the power of the Holy Ghost. So if we can just be worthy to receive that help, it'll make us better advocates.
Yeah. No, I like that. I think, I don't know, I was thinking about like things, I don't know, things that like, I don't know, like different topics that people go over, and sometimes I get like flustered and I'm like, no, like you're not understanding. Like,
right.
Why don't you understand that? And I feel like that's when we need to like ask for the Spirit to like calm us down, because no one listens to you when you're like freaking out. Like, I feel like when people are like more calm and willing to like talk it out, that's when people are more willing to just kind of take your opinion and just kind of go with it, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So, and I felt like Wilbur did a good job of that most of the time. Like, I feel like he wanted to listen, and then he would just kind of like be like, well, did you think of this kind of thing? Like, so.
I think it's human nature towards us that we are aggressive back. Kind of like, I don't know, in high school, if you were told to read a book under a certain time period, it was really hard to read that book, whether you like to read or not. And so I think as an advocate, it's hard to get others to listen if you're just being aggressive. You just have to you have to state your opinion in a tactful and calm way, so that they're willing, open to listening. Even if they just having them listen is a big step.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, I agree, definitely. Okay, so the next question is her name Marcia, or is it, I don't know.
I think
Barlow. Okay. Marcia Barlow spoke on persuasive speaking and writing. Did Wilbur and others exemplify any of Marcia's ideas? How so? So I remember that, I think this was her, that she talked about like the story of me and us. Was that one? Or was that one? Okay. Well, she said this. I like looked at her like thing again. And so she said, this is the essence of persuasion. You strive for story turns, and then you give some intellectual firepower. So, like, going back, like, we keep going back to this one story about when he was on the boat with the people. And so he first is like, he talks about, well, he just says, let's see, he's like, when it left Africa, there were 600 aboard. That smell is a smell of death. Breathe it in deeply. And then he's like, remember that smell. Remember God made men equal. And so I feel like he kind of like tells a little story in there, and then he just is like, at the end, he's like, remember that God are made equal. Like, I think that almost made people think like, oh yeah, like everyone is a human being and they shouldn't be treated like that. So I felt like that was kind of something that Marcia Barlow, I don't know how to say her name, she kind of brought up. And what else? I thought he did a good job with like giving stories about people, because I think she brought up in her like in her discussion, she said how like a personal story, obviously, like I think that there's a time and a place for it, but it's important to have it in there because that's, I don't know, I feel like when people share personal stories, that's when it like hits me the most. I'm like, oh wow, like you went through that kind of thing. So so I thought Wilbur did a good job of that. And also there was someone who else did it. It was, I don't even know who it was. His name was like Tarleton. I don't know who he really was, but he shared a story um, about the slaves and all that. And so I thought that was powerful as well.
Yeah, I agree with you completely. And I feel like every time that they had to do any sort of speaking in the parliament sessions and things, they had to be persuasive. I mean, they were persuading other people to vote the way they wanted to. But like you said, I think one thing that stood out to me when we had that lesson about persuasive speaking was how a personal story can be effective. I was thinking the same thing as you. That totally gets my attention.
Yeah.
Better. It makes it so much more personal, and it makes you feel more passionate about it. And he was really good at that. And I think especially when they were having his slave friend help. I mean, his slave friend used his own persuasion, like when he showed him his burn mark from when they branded him and stuff. That persuaded him to be an advocate himself. And what really I thought was funny was at the end of the movie, when they were trying to trick the parliament into doing a different bill. And so they got that really boring guy to speak so that they wouldn't think about what he was actually saying. Mm-hmm. I thought, how true is that? So the boring guy that doesn't say anything, he just reads it. It's not persuasive at all. It's totally like the opposite of what Marcia Barlow talks about. Yeah, that was really funny.
I didn't even think about that, but yeah, that's a good point that you brought up.
Yeah, I feel like he was just really great at getting those personal connections that made you listen to what he would say.
I think he did a lot of what Marcia Barlow brought up, like in her speech, like to be persuasive, and I don't know, I thought he did a really good job.
Yeah, he did.
Okay, so the next question is, what role did the government policy and religious freedom play in the fight of the slave trade? Did you see their political system being pro-life? Why or why not? Answer all of the questions. Let's see. So, obviously, the government policy and religious freedom obviously play like a huge role in. I thought it played a big role in the fight of slave trade. I think at first the government was like super determined not to change the policy, and I think it was because it was like a normal thing, and so it's like we don't want to like change it. It's been a policy, so why would we change it? And they were saying like how whatever the crops would go down, or like whatever, that kind of stuff. And so, but I think the religious freedom played a fight in it as well, because that's how, I don't know, I feel like that's where Wilbur like got his strength from. Like he was like, well, I'm doing this because, like God basically like wouldn't be treating people like this. Um so yeah, I just thought that was interesting. I don't know. I remember like we had a big lesson about that, like how important the government and policy and religious freedom play. Um, and so I don't know. I just think that's why it's important as um, as like community members. I don't know, as whatever, as community members, it's important to know the policies of like what is happening, especially as like a family advocate. Like the family doctrine is changing a lot, and so it's important to know like what your state and what they think about different things are. And so obviously the government policy and the policy had a big role in the fight of slave trade. And I think their political system, I don't know how pro family it was. um, I don't. Well, I know at the beginning, I think it's his cousin that was like, "Oh, married. Like, if you die without like, people die when they're not married or something like that." I don't even remember what it said, but I feel like the government, it wasn't very pro family, to be honest, because there was a part where, what was it? Um, they were saying like how bad it was for the children of the slaves and all these different things, but they were like, well, it's still okay, like it's okay to have them as slaves, like it's no big deal. But so I was like, I don't know how pro family they are. So yeah, that's what I kind of
Yeah.
thought.
Yeah, I agree with that completely. I feel like the government there just didn't really want to get involved in it because it was too much work. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe they didn't feel like in Britain that they could change the policy enough that to affect the people in the United States. I don't know, but it took them a while to even seem to contemplate changing their minds at all. And like you said, it's important to understand what the policies are. We kind of had a lesson where we talked about that, and I don't remember what the group was called, but it made it sound like they were pro-children, except what it really did was take away all the rights of the parents. And so I feel like with the slave trade, I mean, did they really even understand what was happening? I mean, it was good for the farmers, and I think that's partially why they didn't want to change it, is because some of them even had their own slaves, and so they could see how it was good for them. But what was hard is the understanding of what happened to the slaves to get where they were, and that all slaves weren't treated fairly.
Yeah.
I definitely don't think that they were very pro-family, because even when they were talking about things that happened on the slave ships, it talked about how they would like hang the women upside down or something like that.
Right. Yeah.
Things like that. They really didn't talk about family much at all, really.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah, I feel like that too, which is sad.
It is. It's very sad.
Okay, so the next question is, do you feel that Wilbur used his time on Earth well? How did you see him showing the elements of consecration that Elder Christofferson spoke of? So I thought Wilbur used his time on Earth very well. He obviously like affected a lot of people, obviously, and he changed things for the better. And I think he didn't sit back and let other people stop. Like he didn't just say, "Oh, well, they'll just do it." He was the one that was like, "No, like I'm gonna step up and do it." And Elder Christofferson said, like, let us seek to build up Zion through unity, godliness, and charity. And I think that's what he was trying to do. Like he wanted to just basically have people love each other and be united and understand there is a God. And so I thought Wilbur did a good job at like building Zion kind of thing. I mean, he was kind of like in the hands of the Lord, like he was acting as the hands of the Lord kind of thing. That So, so I thought he used his time on Earth very well.
Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot. I agree. At the end in the credits, I noticed that it said even after they abolished slave trade, he continued making all of these groundbreaking changes in law, and they had said he had some sort of disease that was making him so sick, and I just thought, like, when I saw that, I thought, how easy would it have been to say, okay, well, I just, like, conquered this big mountain of slave trade, and I'm good, I'm done, but
Right.
he kept going, and he, even though he was sick and had a family, and I'm sure it wasn't easy for him, he kept going on different causes to make the world better, and I definitely feel like he used his time on Earth to build Zion and
Yeah.
to consecrate. I liked that a lot.
No, I think so too. I like that you brought up sorry, just like blanked my mind.
No, that's okay.
How you said how he didn't like make an excuse like,
Mm-hmm.
oh well, yeah, because he was like super sick, but he was like, well, I need to do this kind of thing. Because there was that part. It was when him and that girl I don't remember her name, but they got married and they were pregnant, and he was like really sick, and he was like, well, just talk to me. He was saying like, knowing, I don't know what he said, but he was talking about like ending the slave trade, and I was just like, that's really cool. Like he knew how important it was, and he didn't just like give up about it. Like he wasn't like, well, sorry guys, like I'm sick, so it's up to you.
Yeah.
And so I just felt like he understood the importance of it. Like I don't know, thinking about the film, like I don't know if there would have been anyone else in the group that had that much determination to just kind of go for it.
I agree completely. He was definitely very, very motivated to continue.
Yeah.
And his wife was even a really good supporter of that. I was constantly amazed to, first of all, that she got him to get back to advocating, and second of all, that even when he was sick and she was pregnant, she pushed him to keep going. So I thought that was good.
Yeah, I thought that was actually really cool too.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, it just like shows you like how important it is to like be supportive of your like husband or wife. Like they need that support, and I don't know. So yeah, I agree. That's cool. Okay, and then number 9 is any other profound thoughts or personal insights from the movie that are related to child and family advocacy. Well, kind of just going along with, I guess, what I said. I just thought it was neat how Wilbur, he just like didn't give up on what he believed in. Because I feel like in the world today, and obviously there's a lot of like bashing and things on different things. And so it's kind of, sometimes it's easy just to be like, okay, forget about it. Like, I'm not even gonna say anything. But he didn't, like, I feel like he was very, like, to the end, he was very like, this is what I believe, and everyone knew that he believed that. And so I think that's an important thing to do as like family advocates. And then what else? But yeah, I just thought it was neat that he just kind of kept pressing forward, even though like at first the bill, like it just wasn't passed, and then he just kept, I don't know, he just kept kind of going for it. And so he like never gave up, which I think is an important thing to have as
yeah. I thought it was funny when he was first talking to that girl. She said, yeah, in the spring the flowers bloom, and in the summer something else, and in the winter your bill goes up again. And for like 3 years in a row. It was just kind of funny because she kind of related it towards like the seasons changing, and he always just kept coming back. He definitely just kept at it, which is funny.
Yeah.
For me, I really, really enjoyed the material of this course. I feel like as a marriage and families major, that's what I am. If there's something that would get you passionate about this major, it would be this course.
Right.
And one phrase that has just been in my mind the whole semester is, if we don't, then who will? And I feel like that's kind of what his attitude was about with slavery, is if I don't advocate, who's gonna stop the slave trade? And even they were telling the story of the slave woman who's the woman and child were getting beaten in the slave field, and she told her child after they were beaten, somebody is coming from across the ocean to save us, and it's King Wilbur or something like that is what she said. And I just thought, how amazing was that he, even though he probably thought what he was doing was small and simple, it had such a great effect on so many people. And so if we don't advocate, then who will?
I like that. I really like that. That's cool. That's definitely something to think about.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay, so the next question is, what was your understanding of the doctrine of the family at the beginning of the semester, and how has it changed? I guess, like, my understanding was, I don't know, like, the simple things that we know, like, marriages between, like, a man and woman, like, we're supposed to have children, like, kind of those things. But I guess I didn't realize my importance of telling people about the family and how important families are, which is kind of sad. But, like, I guess that, I don't know, that's just something that I, obviously because it's an advocacy class, like a family advocacy class. But I don't know, that's something that has really, like, stuck with me in this course, is how important it is to help others understand the doctrine of the family. And Harold B. Lee, he said, the most important of the Lord's work that you will ever do will be the work you do within the walls of your home. And so I really like that quote, which we've heard, obviously, like everyone probably has heard that quote, but like it's important to like teach my children about the doctrine of the family at a very young age. Like I think, I don't know, Elder Bednar came up here and he was just saying like, you know, as like bad as the world is now, like this is as good as it's gonna get kind of thing. And so I don't know, it's important to like start them young and help them understand what a family is and like why we live a certain way. And because if you don't start now, then they're gonna not know when they're older and they'll be kind of confused. So I guess that's kind of what stuck with me.
Yeah, I like that a lot. I feel like I kind of understood like the doctrine of the family, but I didn't really understand how much it was under attack. I think I take it for granted that I come from a really heavily Mormon population, and so it's easy just to keep on keeping on and not think about all of the things that we should be doing or shouldn't be doing. And I like that you said that we need to just teach our families and teach others about it, because I mean that's what's under attack and that's what we're trying to protect. And so if we aren't continuing to teach those around us, it's never gonna get any different.
Right, yeah, I agree. Okay, the last one is picture your spouse and children, current or future, and write down some thoughts about how they will benefit from you taking this class. Well, I guess just I don't know, I guess something that I want to do with my like children is to help them be informed about like policies in the government, kind of not like, I don't know, in detail, right? But like help them know what's going on about the family, because it was in lesson 13 that it showed the two videos. So I guess last week, it showed two videos of the girls who like was standing up for the family doctrine.
Uh-huh.
And I don't know, I think it showed me how important it was as like parents. Like we need to help our children be confident in like government policy and help them understand what's going on so they can stand up for it, like with their friends, or I don't know, whatever they need to do. But so I think that's something that I've definitely will benefit like my children, and also like with my husband. I don't know, we have a lot of like discussions about the family, and so I think that has also made me more confident in it and like speaking my mind about it, like, well, this is what I think and I don't understand this. And so I don't know, it starts like good discussions, and it helps me, and it also like helps him kind of see where we're both coming from, and I don't know, kind of know what we both believe, I guess.
Oh, I like that a lot. That's really great. So I have two little girls now, and I kind of took this, yeah, I took this on a little bit of a smaller scale, and how this class would help me advocate for them even if it's just something when they go to school, I'll be able to advocate for, I don't know, just better school lunches or something. Just I'll be able to help them better because I know how important it is to stand up for them. Um, and and like you said, being able to teach our kids about policies and a better understanding of what's going on so that they know um, why the gospel is so important. I feel like that's a really great thing. So that's kind of what I was thinking.
Yeah, I think, I don't know, just like what we said, the other, I think it was the other question as well. Like, it just, I don't know, it's important to like, just like start them young kind of thing. It's like how they always, obviously, I was thinking about like primary, they start them very young to learn the gospel.
Mm-hmm.
And like even with like like just family doctrine things, I feel like the family doctrine is kind of going like crazy. And so like people aren't understanding it and they're, I don't know, I guess they're confused about it.
Yeah.
And so it's important to let our children know like we marry a man, like it's between a man and a woman, like there's supposed to be a mom and like kind of thing, like little things like that. I mean, not when they're like 1 years old. Like, oh yeah, I don't know, but so I don't know, just doing like simple little things. If they like ask you questions, like that's something, because I'm a child development major, and that's something that they've like kind of talked about is, if they ask you questions about it, like don't just be like, oh well, you'll find out one day. Like you
Yeah.
have to let them know, like I don't know, maybe it will kind of go over their head, but you can kind of simplify it, and then I don't know, then they have like a foundation about it. So
Yeah, I agree with that completely. We have to be honest and be able to answer questions to their age, appropriate for their age, but still answered. You can still answer questions and keep it age
yeah.
appropriate for sure. I love that.
Okay, well, I think that's it.
Well, great. Thank you.